Soulslike games are generally known for their challenging difficulty and intentional, deliberate combat, although you'll find a few more liberties taken with the games in this video. Here are the top 5 free Soulslike games on Steam you don't know about. Cervus is a third-person Soulslike that has you journey through a dark fantasy desert to restore balance to the world. Like all faithful Souls games, you've got a dash, roll, block, light, and heavy attack. All these actions besides the light attack use stamina, so you have to figure out how to use your moveset most efficiently. The heavy attack is especially useful as it can stun enemies for a bit but does use a fair bit of stamina. What makes combat unique, however, is the rage meter. Every time you hit an enemy, your rage meter gets filled up a bit. Fill it all the way and you can activate rage mode, which increases attack damage and adds in these additional friendly allies that attack once for you, melting enemies pretty quickly. There's a handful of enemy types that scale in difficulty as you progress. There's basic fodder enemies that are pretty weak, shield enemies that you have to stun, mages that try to stay far away and shoot magic at you, and powerful staff-wielding enemies that rush you. Hidden around the world are blood points, which can also be earned by killing enemies. These can be spent at checkpoints to upgrade your character's stats. You'll also find deer hearts laying around, which essentially act like health potions that get refilled at checkpoints. My only complaint is that the game is a bit unoptimized, as I'm sure you saw in the footage, but if you're looking for a Souls-like game with excellent rage-centric combat, then I recommend Cervus. The Penguin game 2, Lies of Penguin, is a comedic action game where you play as a chosen penguin who has to save Antarctica and get revenge on humans. The game is structured like a boss rush game where you mostly fight against bosses in an arena, but there are a few times where you fight against easier human enemies. You're armed with a baseball bat that has a light attack and a chargeable heavy attack. You're also able to dash and sprint to avoid enemy attacks, but every action you perform costs stamina. Defeating certain bosses or completing challenges around the world will unlock a new bat you can equip at Bon-Ices. Get it? Instead of bonfires? A few bat abilities are very useful, like the spin attack that deals a lot of damage and makes you invulnerable while spinning, as well as the meditation bat that restores half your health over time, so you don't have to rely solely on your 3 fish to restore health. All of the bosses are excellently designed, putting up a fair challenge, having their own attack patterns based on their character's style. The story is hilarious, culminating in a wonderful ending sequence that has you fight alongside your allies before taking on an Attack on Titan-inspired final boss. If you're looking for a funny boss rush centered game with a truly inspiring story, then I recommend the Penguin game 2, Lies of Penguin. Bloodspear is a Souls-like action-adventure game with a focus on ranged combat as you control a demonic spear thirsty for blood. The spear awakens and possesses knights' bodies to kill enemies. You have a ranged throw attack that deals more damage the longer it's charged, and an ability that shatters spears and serves as a melee attack. This is useful against certain enemies like these guys with shields that block the ranged attack, but if you stick enough spears in their shield then break them, it'll destroy their shield and deal a lot of damage. There's only a handful of enemy types, but they work well in changing up how you attack in often cramped areas. Like every Souls-like game, there's a stamina bar that gets consumed whenever you sprint or dash to dodge attacks. You can also heal yourself from the blood dropped by enemies. Because you play as the spear, dying isn't necessarily the end, as you can find a checkpoint ghost before the spear dies, allowing you to revive yourself on the spot. The game ends with a fantastic boss fight that puts all your skills to the test as you dodge attacks and wait for an opening to throw spears before breaking them. If you're looking for a great Souls-like game with a unique ranged combat system, then I recommend Bloodspear. Derp Souls is just like Dark Souls, except you're armed with a carrot on a journey filled with flatulence and humping. The opening cutscene really sets the tone of the game and it never lets up from there. Essentially, you have to explore the world to find and activate beacons by humping them, because why would you not do that? Of course, enemies are garbage cans, because why not? And you're armed with a carrot that can be charged to deal more damage by mashing a button mid-attack, because why not? And can throw eggs at enemies to stun them, because also why not? There's no checkpoints, meaning you always start at the first spawn location when you die, but do keep the beacons you already activated. I do wish the game guided you more on how to progress, but what can you really expect from a game that has this in it? The game also knows who your Steam friends are and incorporates them into dialogue, which is mildly concerning. If you're looking for a perfectly crafted derp game with broken humor, then I recommend Derp Souls. The Unfallen's Awakening has you take on a ruthless guardian after returning from exile underground. There's only one boss fight in the game, but it is a good one. You're able to perform both light and heavy attacks. Although the light attack is much more useful in almost all situations. You've also got a dodge to quickly dash away and a dodge roll to get more distance quickly. There's no stamina meter and you can cancel out of attacks by dodging, which gives combat a fast pace. The boss has several attacks and it takes a while to figure out how to handle any given situation, but patience is rewarded like in any good boss fight. If you're looking for a more action-heavy Souls-like with quick combat, then I recommend the Unfallen's Awakening. Those were the top 5 free Souls-like games on Steam you didn't know about. I'll have my playlist of free Steam games you don't know about linked in the description. Thanks for watching, give me money on Patreon, and don't forget to like and subscribe to keep up with this ongoing series.